This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more. Welcome back to 30 Deals in 30 Days. It is day 4, although technically it's day 5. We're going to be live streaming twice today. So you guys get me once in the morning, once in the evening before I head off to another Predators game. I love me some hockey. So today we're going to be doing underwriting a little bit differently. When you join the challenge, you have access to not only my underwriting spreadsheets, but also the AI underwriting tools that we have created. And so I want to show you how those work because, as I've said to the mastermind, it's really a different approach. Like using spreadsheets is kind of two-dimensional. Using these AI underwriting tools really makes it three-dimensional. It kind of changes your entire approach, as you guys will see today. That is not what I meant to do. Let's do this instead. So this one is from, this is in the chat. This is from Rich Ferradino. He's saying, moving from San Antonio to Charlotte next month. Would love to see if you could underwrite a retail shopping or industrial flex in the Charlotte metro. So we're going to be diving into Charlotte today. We'll see whether retail or industrial is the way to go. And guys, bear with me on the voice. I've been running a mastermind in person for 3 days here in Nashville while also live streaming with you guys. So I've been absolutely punishing my voice. But we're going to make it work. We got 30 days to underwrite 30 deals. We're going to make it happen. If you want to join the challenge, get access to all the tools you see today, go to 30. Don't go to 30. Go to CREcentral.com/30 deals, 30 days. I've got that link in the description below as well. All right, so if you're in the challenge, you come over here to the resources, go down to Pickaxe Tools, and click here to access the Pickaxe Studio. So you'll create an account. You get access to this for free as a member. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so this is the Underwriting Coach Beta. It is obviously a beta AI. I don't have it perfected yet, and I don't want you to think that just because you're going to be dropping things in to this underwriting AI that everything is going to be perfect. But it's pretty cool, and it's pretty close, and it's been trained on how I actually underwrite deals, like dozens and dozens of videos of me going through and underwriting deals in the mastermind. So it's pretty cool to see kind of how it pulls things together. All right, let's go to Crexy. Let's find some stuff. Let's see what's going on in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to drop these types down to retail. I don't really want to see any convenience stores, daycare nurseries, QSRs, gas stations, or auto shops. They're just very specialized, and that's going to be very different from the rest of the retail that we're looking at. And then we said industrial, but we don't want to look at, we can look at some of this bigger stuff because we can always split it up in a smaller flex, but let's take out the specialty industrial. All right, we got a lot of opportunity here. Rich didn't give me a price range, but I'm going to drop in a price range of somewhere between $1 million and $2 million. That seems to be a pretty realistic range, generally. I'm excluding unpriced listings because I am not here to appraise your deals. If you're too lazy to put a price on it, I'm too lazy to make an offer. All right. Right off the bat, we've got, it looks like a single tenant net lease deal. We're going to pass on that. Ooh, a dark Wendy's. That's always cool. 7.5% cap rate. Not bad. Wonder how many years of term they have on it, but there's no value to be added there. All right, we got another single tenant net lease deal. Oh, look at this. 10,000 square feet of industrial flex. I mean, come on. This seems like a pretty prime candidate. They seem very proud of it, though. $1,750,000 for 10,000 vacant square feet in a metal building. I mean, come on. $175 a foot. 175. That's crazy, but let's look at this one. Just because the price is crazy doesn't mean that we can't make an offer that actually makes sense. Like I said, sorry guys, bear with me on the voice. 444 days on market. No shit. Come on. You're at $175 a foot. That's more than it costs to build a house. Think about all the stuff a house has that this does not. It looks like it's in pretty good condition now. I'll say that. I mean, the floors, need to be cleaned, but why does that look like a mobile home? All right, we got a loading dock. We got a pitched roof. That's always nice. Basically no windows whatsoever. Looks like maybe a mechanic shop or something used to be in there a little bit. Let's see. Jam is saying day 4. Here we go. It is day 4, baby. We're getting at it. Ironwood is saying bright and early on the West Coast. Thanks for joining us, Ironwood. It's 7 a.m. there? Happy Sunday. Jam is saying changing with the times. Smart. Love that you're all embracing AI. Absolutely. I mean, look, to me, it's a tool, right? It's like going from a hammer to a nail gun. You're going to be able to get things done faster, but you still got to know how to frame the house, all right? So why not use all the tools at your disposal if you can? Don't rely on it too much, though. You still need to know how to use a hammer. All right, so it looks like you got some basic office space in here. I mean, this looks like a really, really, really straightforward flex building. Ceiling height is 15 feet. It's not ideal, but it's actually not bad for flex. A lot of these smaller tenants, they don't really necessarily mind having shorter ceilings. 15 feet still tall. But, a lot of these newer distribution buildings, they're building 22 feet or taller. I mean, I've seen some that are over 30 feet. But generally, these smaller guys, they're not going to have the forklifts that can get up that high, so they couldn't utilize that space anyway. Robert is jumping in with Sunday Fun Day. Man, we got a crew going here. You guys have been here every single day. It's good to see y'all. Thanks for all coming back. All right. So let's see if there's any other information on this. $1,075,000, built in 1972, sits on half an acre. So, I mean, with it sitting on half an acre, I know right off the bat, okay, we can't build any more flex space here. It's just not going to be possible. It's too small of a lot. I mean, it might be zoned for you to build more, but just logistically, it's going to be very tough, especially if you've got any trucks or anything like that coming in. All right, let's see if this flyer is actually a legitimate flyer or if it's just a Crexy generated. All right, we got a legit flyer. So diving into this, 7,200 square feet of warehouse, 2,800 square feet of office. I don't like how big that office is. It's close to 30% of the overall space. Generally, what I like to see is closer to 15. You really don't need a whole lot of office space in flex. 480 volt 3-phase. That's excellent. That means that we can power just about anything that you want to do in there, which is always good. Metal, center block, masonry. I mean, it looks like a pretty solid building. Metal roof. I like metal roofs. Looks like they've trenched in some plumbing, maybe some sewer drains or something like that for cars. I mean, the only thing that, the first thing that I'd be concerned about is environmental. I mean, it looked like they had so this here, to me, it looks like a piece of equipment that you'd be using when you're working on cars. So, maybe we're going to have some environmental contamination, something to consider. Okay, watch this. So we'll download this PDF. And I'm going to come over here to my underwriting coach. I'm going to drop that in. I'm looking at buying this flex building in Charlotte, North Carolina, and turning it into a multi-tenant flex building. Let's see. I generally like to see around 1,500 to 2,000 square feet if we're going to really split it up. But we need to consider how we're going to utilize this loading dock. Maybe not all the tenants will need it. Maybe we just have one tenant that would take that space. Because it looks like is anything else really at grade? Okay, so if we do split this up into smaller tenants, just looking right here, we might have to add another drive, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It looks like it's all gravel anyway, but something to keep in mind. Like, it's not just going to be a super simple, like, oh, let's just add doors. Let's look this address up, 3400 Silas Avenue. So get it from the street view. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal because you would probably need, like, basically to curb cut this entire thing, which is really not good. So, I mean, honestly, like, if I was looking at this from an investment perspective, I'd say, okay, we could probably put a big roll-up door here, split this building in half. Somebody gets a roll-up door, somebody gets a loading dock, and their entrance is here. So that's going to dictate what we tell our underwriter into a 2-tenant flex building. The office is currently 28%, we'll just say 30% of the space, and I would demo it down to around 15%. The spaces would likely be split evenly, with one tenant getting a new roll-up door, ideally around 12 feet by 14 feet, and the other tenant taking the existing loading dock. Please help me underwrite this opportunity. So the way that this AI is designed is it's going to continue to ask you a lot of questions. So you guys are going to see, as we are going through this, it's going to ask a whole bunch of questions. And I design it that way for a reason, because one, it needs the information. But two, I want you to actually be thinking through a lot of this stuff as you're going through it. That's why I say that this AI tool is three-dimensional, as opposed to like two-dimensional on a spreadsheet. Like, you'll see, I mean, right now, what is the overall current condition of the property? It's talking about deferred maintenance, roof, HVAC, recent upgrades. It's going to help us put together some repair costs, estimates, and stuff like that. Stuff that you might just make an assumption on and move on from if you were underwriting it in a spreadsheet. Trading for Science is saying, now I'm only 8 minutes late. I wish you set time for this where I could just put an alarm clock. Yeah, trading, we have all of the times posted in the portal. Let me show you guys this. So inside, once you join the challenge, we have the call schedule right here. So you'll be able to go in here and see these. So today, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., I'll be adding the rest of the week today as well, so that everybody has those times. And then you can always click through and actually add this to your calendar. So there you go. That way, you never miss them. All right, let's get into these questions. What is the current overall condition of the property? It's not bad. It looks like it's generally been kept up well, but is going to need some deferred maintenance. Cleaning up the concrete floors, demising the space since it's currently set up for one tenant, etc. I will need to take into account the additional costs of demising this space as well. Right, so when you're demising a space, it's not just like, hey, let's put a wall up. There's also going to be bathrooms for both spaces. We got to hope that that office space can just be split in two, right? Do you have any information on prior renovations or expansions? No, it doesn't look like anything has really been done since 1972. That's kind of the funny thing about these buildings. Like, I mean, it might not have been touched since 1972. With these types of buildings, I mean, obviously it has. I mean, I'm exaggerating. But with these types of buildings, I mean, it's block, steel, and concrete. You know, it's relatively straightforward. This type of product will probably look the same in another 30 years. How soon do you begin to plan demo construction to reduce the office portions? I would start this immediately as soon as we close so that I can get this space in close to move-in ready condition for my tenants. So once you get to around 5,000 square feet for some of these types of tenants, you know, they may want to customize their spaces a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's still industrial. They're still going to need a basic box, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and get it move-in ready, because if I can just go find a tenant, sign a lease, and then next day they can move in, that's generally an ideal situation for both me and these tenants. Are there any immediate environmental or zoning issues that we should be aware of? Not on the zoning side, but it looks like there may have been an auto mechanic there at some point. So I do need to perform a phase one. All right, let's see what we get out of that. Tessa Baby is saying hello from the Virgin Islands. Hey, Tessa, thanks for joining us. Jam, do you consider metal buildings a plus or downside for renovations? You know, Jam, I'm not bothered by them, to be honest with you, because the tenants aren't. Most tenants don't care. Like these types of tenants, they don't necessarily want to be, in something that's brick facade. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when I went down to Birmingham and toured that flex with Marcus Kittrell, like he is attracting a different level of flex tenants because he's doing luxury flex. Like it's beautiful. It's got brick. It's got these cedar overhangs over the doors. He's got landscaping. The parking lots are well lit. It's really, really nice. And he's going to be getting a different level of rent than I would be if I was next door to him with this building, right? So you're just generally going for different kinds of tenants. So like when I look at a building like this, the metal siding on a building actually makes it kind of easier. If there's any issues, we can just take that metal siding off and very easily reattach it. All right. Hey, good morning, Black Sheep. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's see what else we got here. So if you guys are just joining us, this is the AI tool that we have within the challenge for you guys to use that's trained on how I underwrite deals. So it's going to ask a whole bunch of questions. All right, what is the purchase price or total project cost that you're considering? Let me make sure it read. Yeah, I mean, it read the brochure. Maybe the brochure didn't have it. The asking price is $1,750,000, and I think that is way too high on a price per square foot basis, though I haven't yet reviewed the comps. I mean, I'll just tell you, like Charlotte's pretty similar to Nashville. $175 a foot for a vacant flex building built in 1972 is a crazy price. So we will definitely be negotiating the price. All right. When do you expect to close on the property? Is there any seller financing or special terms in play? No. Let's just do a traditional, 70% bank debt term with 30% equity. My lender has I'm obviously making this up. My lender has quoted me 6.5% with 18 months interest only to stabilize the asset and a 20-year amortization with a 5-year balloon. All right. Um, oh. We would close in 90 days after going under contract. Okay. Do you have any estimate of renovation or demising budget? Well, okay. So I just got a quote from a demo company for $15,000 on a 4,000 square foot building, and that was strictly for the roof. So that's $3.75 a foot. There's not a whole lot of demo that's going on here, but there is going to be some. So, and then to build back walls, we're probably talking $10 to $15 a foot, and adding that roll-up door in. I would say maybe we're going to be $20 a foot all in on this, is what I'm going to estimate. Now, guys, I came up with that. I mean, I'm kind of making this number up, but that's based off of just the flex building deals that we've done in the past. I'll tell you, the more that you talk to contractors, the more that you talk to people that are doing, these types of deals and renovations, the more you'll be able to just do what I just did in my head. Like, I just thought through a couple of conversations that I've had recently with investors on deals that they're doing. So just start talking to everybody and ask all of these questions. If you don't know what construction costs are to build walls, start asking people, right? I'm going to estimate $20 per square foot for all demo and renovations at this time. I will be working with AGC because I don't want to manage it myself. Is this an all-cash purchase? See above on the lender's terms. All right. Let's see. Goldsby is saying, Tyler, what's up, my bruh? What's up, Goldsby? Thanks for jumping in. All right, now we're focusing on the income and lease details. What do we expect the market rent to be? Well, let's go find out. I'm going to look at 4 lease buildings. We're going for industrial, taking out R&D, well, leaving in distribution, manufacturing, and refrigeration. Cold storage, any size, I would say probably 1,000. Well, no, because we're going for 2 5,000 square foot units. So I'm going to say 3,000 to 7,000, right? Any rate, exclude undisclosed rates. What's the point? I really don't understand it. It's like you're not even trying. All right, 12 to 13 books. 12 to 13 bucks. All you have to pay me is 12 to 13 books a month. I love to read. $12 to $13 a square foot. $15 to $20 a square foot. $1.20 a square foot a month. That comes out to like $13 a square foot. $13 a square foot. 31. I think that must be a typo. There's not a chance they're getting that. 15 to 1575. So this looks nicer than what we've got. So we know we're not going to get probably 15 to 1575. 17, that's nicer than what we've got. 19, again, nicer than what we have. This is pretty similar. It's really outdoor storage, though, 1650. 10, it's a sublease. It could be undercutting it. Looks like they're pretty far out of town. 1650. I mean, I feel pretty confident at $13 a foot just after first blush of looking at one of these. So with that being said, let's grab some of these $13 square foot deals and see what we have. I need to know like what type of leases they are. Let's view their brochure. Yeah, look at that. They got a 16-foot clear height minimum. Could go up to 17 or 18. Cam is $2.66 a foot. Okay, good. So we know that now. These are triple net leases. I like that. I am going to print this off so I can give that to the AI. Let's see. That didn't look like it saved anything. Yeah, it's in downloads. Okay, it's already in there. All right, we're good. All right, let's look for another comp. We don't always like to rely on just one comp, all right? Because we could be just completely off. I like to triangulate it, right? So we look for at least 3 comps. This one's modified gross. Let's look at their brochure. It's a bigger building. Their ceiling height's 24 feet. That's going to be tough to... Their roll-up door's only 10 feet. That's crazy. Lease term negotiable, lease type, modified gross. But they don't tell us what that actually looks like. This one may not be a comp, honestly. So, all right, let's look at this one. Yeah, trading for science. Everyone loves triple net. Absolutely. Yeah, you got to be careful with triple nets, though, because sometimes tenants just don't get it. And if you confuse, you lose. But if it's market in your area, I mean, absolutely go for it. It just makes your life so much easier. All right, looking at this new deal built in 1982. That's good. Good timeline. Good comp. Ceiling height, 15 feet. All right, decent comp. Dock high, 15-foot clear height. Space heaters. This seems very similar to ours. So $14 a foot, including, that looks like they might be, okay, $12 a square foot base rent plus $2.44. Okay, so like just under $3 is probably our number for expenses on these properties. So that's great. Now we've got 2 properties, 2 comps that have confirmed that. Let's go back over here, and I'm going to drop those 2 in. We go for similar terms as to what they have, since that seems to be market standard. So I'm saying that because, you know, these questions, it's asking me, what's your market rent? Well, here's 2 comps that seem to be in the market rent. Tenant improvements and leasing commissions, it's probably going to come back and ask me that again. Lease terms and escalations, it's probably going to get an idea of what the length will be, but I can give that to it as well. And then vacancy seems to be okay. Okay, so 1. Yes, I want my base rent assumption in that range. The comps show typical pass-throughs in the range of $2 to $2.60. Yes, I think that's appropriate. I don't have any specific quotes or estimates right now, so no point in diving into anything else. Remember, you know, I was having this conversation the other night with some of the mastermind members while we were having dinner. While everybody was in town. This first pass of your underwriting is the first pass of your underwriting. There's a lot of information that we don't have and that we won't have until we go under contract on this. So on the front end, I'm making some assumptions that I feel are educated, but are not going to get us 100% there. So this underwriting is a living, breathing document. I'm going to continue to update it with every step of the way as I get more and more information. So if I get into it and then the owner says, well, hey, actually our operating expenses are at $3 a foot. Okay, well, now I'm going to drop that into my underwriting and see how that changes my numbers. All right. So just because you've gone through and underwritten a property one time before you really had the full picture of it doesn't mean that you're done. All right. Lease terms and expirations. I'd like to aim for 3 to 5 years. 2 to 4 years just seems too low. 3 to 5 years with 3% annual increases. Besides your $20 per square foot, no additional TI. The nice thing about flex tenants is that they generally don't need TI. No additional TI and 6% for brokerage commissions. Always pay your brokers. Always do it. Because they will bring you more and more business over the years, and you don't ever want to be in a position where they're not bringing that. Vacancy and lease-up timeline. Since the building is vacant, how many months do you expect the market and lease space? Would you like to underwrite a 6 or 9 month lease-up period? I'm going to have to demise and demo and do all of that kind of stuff. So let's go for a 6 to 9 month lease-up period. Because I'm going to be able to go ahead and start marketing this as soon as we close on it, even though I'm starting all of the construction and everything, right? So just because I'm under construction doesn't mean that I can't use that time as well to be doing some of the marketing, all right? If I wanted better numbers on that, I would start calling broker. You guys will hear me repeat some of the same stuff over and over again over the next 30 days. But since this is a first blush, attempt at this underwriting, if I wanted to get a more data-driven approach to my lease up, I would start calling brokers in the market and figuring out how long does it take for you to fill these spaces, right? They may say it's 5 months, and then I could drop that in and make my underwriting look better. They may say it's 12, in which case it could kill the deal. That's why it's important to, make these assumptions on the front end, like educated assumptions, but then go through and double check them at all times. I'm just going to say I do not have any of these at this time. It's asking me for management, reserves, and all of that kind of stuff, utilities and maintenance. I just don't have it yet. So I don't have any of these items yet, 6 through 9. And that's okay. Like, as you're going through this, you're not going to have the full picture. And that's okay. You can make some assumptions in the meantime. Just make sure that you take note of what those assumptions were and where they came from, so that later on when you get the actual information, you can update that. All right? All right, let's see. I told you it's going to ask you a whole lot of questions. But isn't this interesting? Like, this is a totally different way of going about the underwriting process, because it is asking you these questions that are making you think a little bit more holistically about your approach to the deal, not just underwriting. All right? Okay. It didn't understand that I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. 3. We will hire a third-party property manager at 6% of gross incomes collected. Of base rents. Well, no. Let's do total rent. Total rent collected. You could argue it for base, but if you're doing triple net, then you're basically going to incentivize your property manager to not care as much about collecting your CAM tax and insurance, and you want to make sure that they're incentivized for that. Each space will be separately metered, and because we've already got 1 meter, we only need to add another one. I'm pretty confident that in that $20 per square foot estimate that we'd be able to fit that in there. And tenants responsible for their own utilities. Five, reserves. I like 20 cents per square foot since we're not fully redoing this property. You never know. Just never know. Things pop up. Hold period. I expect to hold this for 5 years and am aiming to double my I'm aiming for a 2 times equity multiple. That's the metric that I like to aim for, but you may have something different. Trading is saying once you're under contract, but you decide the last day of the contract we want to exit, is that allowed, or do you need to extend it for 2 weeks ahead of time? Let's say it's 30 days. Yeah, I mean, if you're under contract and you decide you do not want to move forward on that property, as long as you're within the due diligence period, obviously read your contract. It depends on what your specific contract says. The way mine read is that as long as we're in the due diligence period, we can terminate for any reason whatsoever and walk away and get all our money back. Now, you're going to be spending money on surveys, phase 1 environmental, stuff that you won't be able to get back. But you'd be able to get your earnest money deposit back. Exit cap rate, I would assume maybe 7.5% exit cap rate. You're not going to get a really low cap rate on this. You just can't. It's a 2-tenant flex building built in 1972. You're not going to be getting any corporate credit tenants. Rent growth, rent and expenses at 3% annually. One thing that I see, some newer commercial real estate investors do is that they will underwrite their expenses or like their rent growing at like 5 or 6% and their expenses growing at 2%. To me, that's very unrealistic. I just have them go in at the same rate. Your expenses are going to go up. So you might as well account for that now before it becomes an actual problem. To me, that's kind of like hiring an attorney to do all of your deals. If it is too expensive, like if it's going to kill the deal for you to hire an attorney to make sure that you're protected, probably not a good deal. Probably not a deal you should be doing. Sales costs at exit, let's assume 7% for commissions and closing costs. So that would be 6% commissions, 1% closing costs. Depends on how you have your entity set up. You may be able to negotiate for 5% commissions. Okay. Yes, typical for Charlotte is fine. Let's use that range while I'm going to get quotes. All right, so it's taking a minute to think there. Yes, those work. Yeah, so this is just a very different approach to underwriting. I've gotten really good feedback on this way of doing it because it helps you learn so much more about the deal and about the process than you necessarily would if you're just sitting there by yourself inputting numbers into a spreadsheet, which I think is pretty interesting. And the fact that you can take all of this information, right? All we did was take the offering memorandum and drop it in here. But if you're really intent on underwriting this deal, I'd be taking some, the property tax records. I'd take whatever information I've gotten from, the property owners, all of that kind of stuff and dropping that in here and seeing what we come up with. Okay. It's giving us a whole bunch of information now. Let's see what we've got. All right, here's the master summary. So this is cool. So like if you're going to be creating an offering memorandum or sending this out to your investors or anything, it takes all of the information that we just put together and puts it in a very easy just summary, like for you to copy and paste and send wherever, right? So, I mean, look at that. We've got $20 a square foot on 10,000 feet, 200 grand. Purchase price, intent to negotiate. Total project cost. Okay. I'm just going through and double checking, make sure I got everything right. Broker commissions, tenant improvements, vacancy and lease up, operating expenses, triple net approach. So insurance, $3,500 a year. Management fee, 6% of collected rent. Reserves, $2,000 a year. So, just looking at all this. Okay. All right, let's look at the stabilized pro forma. So gross scheduled rent, 10,000 square feet times 1,250. That brings us to $125,000 a year, 5% vacancy. I probably would do 7%, but again, it depends on the market. So then you get your effective gross income minus your operating expenses. You've got property management, reserves, net operating income. Since it's triple net, everything's reimbursed. It's $109,000, right? So, I mean, let's run the math on that right now. That means if we buy it for $1,750,000, we put $200,000 into it, and year one we're netting $109,625 divided by $1,950,000. That gives us a cap rate of 5.6% after we've done all of this work. So we're losing money in year one, which to me says the purchase price is wrong. All right. Growth, typically around 3% per year. Okay. All of this looks correct. All right. And here we go. It's even going to give you some recommendations. Negotiate a lower purchase price to improve your basis. Hold longer than 5 years to let rents and amortization catch up, or secure above market rents if the location supports it. Now, I don't think that we could do above market rents. I don't think that we can hold longer than 5 years because maybe my investors want out faster, or I just don't like to hope that a deal is going to work just because I'm in it longer. So we need to negotiate a lower purchase price. Okay, so what would my returns look like? Actually, what would the purchase price have to be if I wanted to be stabilized at an 8% cash on cash return from my first full year of cash flow? Let's just see what it says. So what it's going to do is it's going to go in there and it's going to basically stress test the deal down to a point where, okay, well, if with all of these assumptions being the same, the purchase price is the only thing that can change. That purchase price is going to have to come down to X in order for the year one of full cash flow to be 8% cash on cash. And so then you could literally take this to the seller and just say, look, I've got to make money on this. Here's where I am. Help me understand why it's worth $1,750,000. Okay, missing data reminder. Before we do, there's still an year one cash flow that we're approximating. Good. So it's going to remind you that there's still some assumptions that we've made. All right, and that's totally fine. So if our stabilized NOI is $109,000, equity and debt, 8% cash on cash return requirement. That means year one. Okay, it's even calculating all the interest and all the fun stuff. All right, so there you go. So if you want an 8% cash on cash return, $1,577,000 is your total project cost, purchase plus renovations. So if we're already planning on doing $200,000, then the total purchase price is $1,377,000. Look at that. How cool is that? Right? Now, obviously, I'm going to go in to my spreadsheet and I would go through all of these numbers and I would double check everything and make sure that it is right on that assumption. But how cool is that? Right? So now, like when you run the math, 1,377,000, like just back of napkin divided by 10,000 square feet, now we're talking about $137 a foot. I still think that's overpriced. Because, we like Marcus, built his luxury flex for less than that or around that down in Alabama. Brand new construction. Bought the land, did the development, and it was cheaper than that. This is a building that was built in 1972. It doesn't have a brand new roof. It doesn't have brand new HVAC units, right? Now, Charlotte's a different market than Birmingham, of course. And this, this could be around the corner from, I don't know, the downtown district, but I doubt it. I mean, it looks like we're in the middle of a neighborhood. Let me pull this up. Oh, we're in Noda. I mean, Noda's cool. I like Noda a lot. So Tryon Hills. I mean, this is a cool area. Like it's especially like closer to Noda. This is a little bit on the edge, right? You see a lot of really cool restaurants and bars and all sorts of stuff along this passenger rail here, which is cool. Camp North End is awesome. Shout out to my boys over there, Tesho. We went and toured Camp North End and did a video on it. It was really, really cool. You guys should check that out. It's a phenomenal adaptive reuse project. So we're not too far from that, all right? But still, I mean, look at this neighborhood. There's nothing wrong with the neighborhood, but it's not like we're on Main and Main. I mean, this is just a kind of old flex area with a road that looks like it can't even accommodate the vehicles. So, we're going to have issues with, tenants wanting to get trucks back here and stuff. So to me, I would say, hey, 1,377,000 at least gets us closer to the range. The problem is we're way, way under what the seller is asking for on this deal, right? So that's what I would do if I was utilizing this AI tool. That's how I use it, you guys. Like, I mean, how cool is that, right? You come in here and just say, okay, well, based on all these assumptions, how do I get to the return that I want to? It stress tests it. It stress tests it for you. Super easy. Black Sheep, you're asking for a personal coaching session. You're welcome to email us. I really don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. I'm happy to explore it with you. Maybe I'll just give it to you. We'll do one as part of this challenge. It's not cheap, I'll tell you that, because I really prefer to spend the time in the mastermind. So I'm happy to send you that link if you want to send me an email at office@thecaublegroup.com. It's generally for most people. If you're going to be booking those calls more than 3 to 5 times, you would get a much better value out of joining the mastermind anyway. Jam is saying, such a powerful tool if you know how to use it. I usually ask to turn the analysis into a PDF, and then I'll ask AI to compare my top 2 to 5 deals to each other and figure out which one is the best for me. Yeah, absolutely. That's the cool thing about this. It's just another tool, right? That's all it is. It's another tool in your tool belt to help you go through underwriting this, all right? Vicken is saying, hey, Tyler, in the chat room. All right, guys. Vicken, good to see you here. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A little bit different, all right, than our typical approach when it comes to the underwriting. But I wanted you guys to see this tool. I think it's a really interesting tool. I think there's so much that you could be doing with it. So go get it. It's for free. It's in the challenge. Go to CREcentral.com/30 deals, 30 days. That link will be in the description below. And I'll see you guys at 5 p.m. Central Time, because we're making up for earlier this week. So we'll be doing this twice today. This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more.